Preparing it right now. All right.
Where'd you get the music? New music.
It was a journey to get that music. All right, I'm pausing it, all the stuff that we have going on. So, welcome everybody.
Where'd you get the music? New music.
Where is this little magic? Where's my intro? Here we go. Welcome everybody to Wildly Healthy with your host, Kasie Maxwell of SFRAW. With Kasie Maxwell of SFRAW and myself, Matt Rowe of ParsleyPet. During our show, we are talking about your pet's health and
hello.
raw feeding.
Yes.
Welcome, Kasie, to this week's show.
Thank you. Hello, everybody. We have a new, I'm going to be doing it from outside today. It's kind of loud in our space today. I'm in front of you can see our COVID-19 big signage here explaining how we now have all these restrictions in place, which we've had, but I just got a new sign. But we have new restrictions in place, and I'm actually being I don't know if you can see them, but it's pretty cute. We've got Kono, my neighbor's dog,
Groovy.
and Groovy are here hanging out with me. Such good puppies. We have a bunch of puppy dogs here hanging out with us out front here.
Well, why wouldn't you have puppy dogs hanging out with you all the time? That's exactly what you're supposed to have in your shop.
I know, it's awesome. I know, and he's so cute. I've noticed he's like 8 weeks old, so he was in the office when he was a little baby, and now I think he's about 6 or 7 now. So.
Oh man.
He's a great dog.
You can see Groovy's head right behind you, just poking out the door like, Mom, can I leave? Can I get out of here? Yeah.
Actually, she just got here. She's been out at the beach and out hiking around with Bronco all day today. So we had a good time together. And he's all healed from his motorcycle accident for the most part. And
is he better?
Yeah, he's much better. Yeah.
Okay, awesome. So today's show, what we wanted to talk about, and Kasie and I were talking about a little bit, we want to talk about our small businesses and how we're supporting this pet community in this time of crisis. And so, Kasie, you are doing something wonderful that you are actually doing Zoom shopping. Talk to me about that.
We're launching it today. So we sort of tested with it last night with a few really patient, sweet people who are new. Basically, since COVID-19 started, we restricted entry and services entirely only to our current and existing members. So we weren't taking any new members in, weren't servicing anyone who was non-members or public. We had these really pretty severe restrictions in place because I really wanted to protect the health and safety of my staff and other members, which was really great. But as this has gotten extended and we've looked at this is really a new way of doing things, and we need to really make adjustments, and we can't just keep prohibiting new members from coming to us. We have all these desperate people who really need help, and they have animals who they want to switch them to raw, or they've been feeding raw, and their sources they don't have available to them anymore. So people in need have wanted to join us up front. We've been pushing back on it, but as of last night and today's sort of the official soft launch of the program. We're doing virtual shopping with Zoom appointments and
awesome.
Do a whole orientation. So usually when people come to SFRAW, they don't get, it's not like a normal store, like you just go in and buy things and leave. Usually you end up we do this whole consultation. So it's usually about a 30 to 40 minute orientation and a tour, and we show you the whole place and kind of talk to you about what different things we have that might meet your needs and get you started. And we really customize the approach entirely to cater towards your what's practical for you, how philosophically how you want to get started, what's going to work easiest for you to get going with feeding raw, and then also what we're going to do then versus what we're going to do a week from then, and then 2 weeks from then. We really guide people along the whole process, and so it's really different than a normal shop. But anyway, it's hard to do that if we don't have them coming inside. So we're going to be doing that with Zoom and doing virtual shopping and orientations. And then non-members, we can just do a phone, and we can do same day, bring it up. We're doing curbside already, so we're just going to continue with the curbside with the new members, and with the non-members, they'll be able to still pick up the orders. Where I'm standing right now out here, we have like a little big securities there. We have like a little space here where we have like one of our members. He's down just a few doors down. He is a metal artist and a welder, and so he designed and built this really cool little gardeny sitting area out in front of our place. It's tiny, it's just little, but that's where we're able to have people wait out here for their orders and put the orders out on a sanitized cart. So we're making sure everything's really safe for people, but we have adjusted to I'm saying it's like COVID land. We're working in COVID land now. So it's like, this is all COVID land stuff. It's like we're in a new space, a new environment, everything's just so different and so unfamiliar. We're really trying to navigate through all of this and try to stay open and trying to make sure to serve everyone. And it's a little bit scary, but we have so much wonderful inventory. We have no problems with all the stuff we have. We have tons of great stuff for people, like fresh milk and eggs and butter. We have like so much good things, all the good grocery stuff, and it's like private shopping here. So we wanted to continue to make sure people have that offered to them, but then continue to take on and assist new members. So one of the things is we're going to do the Zoom appointments, so people can call in, set up the Zoom meeting, email them, set up the Zoom meeting. We can do an orientation, a walkthrough, get them started. But that also, because we're doing, things like this, where you and I meet, you're in Colorado, I'm here in San Francisco, we're realizing that, boy, why don't we just do more virtual consultations so we can do more mentoring and more consultations. Right now, we do free mentoring for all of our members. So if a member needs mentoring, we hook them up with a mentor. We have a group of mentors that have all been really well vetted out by myself and hand selected by myself, of who I think would be good for, basically would do what I would do. Basically someone who would be, promoting the things that I would feel I would say myself and that they've learned from me, and they would advocate for what I would recommend. So those are the mentors that we have. And so those people would be able to extend their services or their support, across the globe. All over the place. So we can do it with Zoom, which is really cool. And making sure, I know that there's some concerns with the security of Zoom, but frankly, it's really about your smart use of it. And so ours is going to be all secured, and it's going to be just people who have the login and the password. And you don't necessarily have to have an account, but you need to have a password to get in. So anyway, I used to have the IT background, so I'm like, that's pretty easy to figure out. Of course, there's always like some measure of security concerns that people have, but I think that it's relatively safe, especially if it's used carefully and not just a public link posted somewhere. So.
And you're not sharing financial information or showing your numbers or showing your accounting files over Zoom. You're basically showing what you have in stock.
And you're not giving. And if it's coming from your house, and you have things in your house, you can always put a virtual background up if you don't want to show your interior of your home or anything private, your children or your family or your address or anything like that. You can always, make it so that it's safe, and you just think about what you're doing. That's all. Mindful about that.
Which I think it's awesome. I think everything that you guys are doing. Now, when you guys go get somebody on Zoom, is it nationwide in regards to being able to buy from you, or is it really
we don't ship right now. That was one of the plans we had for this year, was to actually launch a shipping of the, well, I don't want to reveal too much, but there was a whole program that we were going to do, but we actually brought that back, and it was right before COVID hit. We had decided that we weren't going to push forward with that right away because we had some
COVID changed,
and then COVID happened, and it was like, well, okay, everything's different now anyway. So it's just, it's not, we're not going to be doing that right now. But who knows? Everything right now, it's a great moment for creativity, frankly, and innovation. And there's a lot of opportunity there for during this time when, it's a real struggle for our businesses, and it is financially very scary and challenging for everybody right now. But if you have a business and, suppliers that are relying on you, and, employees who are relying on you, and customers who you hope are relying on you, but, that but then they have their own financial concerns. So it's a really uncertain time right now, and it's really difficult. But it'd be nice. But the nice thing is that you have time to adjust and pivot. That word pivot keeps coming up, but it's time to try new things out and think about new ways to do things, and it's a nice reset in that way. So for our businesses, I think it's a really exciting and creative time where we can really think about doing some new programs and things like that. So I have tons of ideas. So it's just like figuring out what's going to be feasible and what's going to stick and what's going to be successful. And you just have to start launching out those little boats and see which one floats and which one does well and which one people have an interest in. And that's the best you can do.
I mean, you talked about pivots. I mean, right now we are actually broadcasting on YouTube Live, because when we go to do it on Facebook Live, we get an error message. And this is common amongst multiple companies, multiple people trying to go live using the Zoom platform. They're not allowing it. They have this huge error that's out there they haven't fixed. So we're posting on YouTube, and we'll just start broadcasting on YouTube. So if you're watching this video, it may be a little bit late, but it's definitely going to show up on the Facebook thread. So we just need to adapt. We need to pivot and say, okay, how do we get this content out there? And how do we make this happen? So you had mentioned that you were going to start doing consultations. Well, we thought the same thing. Is we noticed a dip in the amount of tests that were being purchased, the amount of dogs that we were helping in regards to the nutritional blueprint. So we said, what is something that can be more accessible? So we came out with the glyphosate test.
That's so awesome.
It is. And so even when we talked to Larry Bolin, Larry's like, yes, we need more dogs, more cats, more horses, so we can put this study together. But one thing great that you get is you get to identify what glyphosate is inside your dog right now, or your cat, or your horse. So we have that product available. But then we said, what else could we do to serve our market? Well, we get a lot of questions in regards to those first stages of raw feeding. Like, what do I do? Like, can I put rice in the diet? Now, that answer is no. Don't put rice in the diet.
We prefer you not. Yeah.
I'll tell you, like, based on
stuck in 1983, maybe, but not now.
Right. Yeah. And that's, as it increases arsenic levels in your animals. If you don't believe me, I'll show you the test.
It's just similar.
And so really, when all of that, there are these questions that a pet owner, as they're stepping into this journey, as you identified, just wants support, wants somebody to, ask those questions to. How do we feed? What should I feed? All of those types of things, and then aligning them with like a Kasie Maxwell at SFRAW, or to help them in their journey to their education. So we have our educational events that we hold once a week. So we have another one.
That's what I want to talk to you about. Yeah, Matt, tell me more about those. Those are really interesting. And when are they? And what things do you cover when you have those events? I think that's really cool, because it's a nice entry for a lot of people, right? It's like a real intro.
And it's free. I mean, it's a class I love to teach, and it's a free class. But what we do is in that class, we teach essential nutrition for a healthier dog. And what
now, are you doing that through Zoom right now, or are you broadcasting that?
No,
so how do people get in on that?
So really, with that is, if you go to our Facebook page, there's a link there that you can register for it. Then I'll send you, once you register, I'll send you all of the Zoom link information of how to get into it. And that is really your first introduction into this whole journey of raw feeding. You take this class, and they're fun, they're entertaining. I'll teach you what affects a dog's diet, what affects their nutrition. There are 4 main areas: environment, the food you eat. You're also taking a look at, the toxins that you're going to receive. And there is another one, it's on the tip of my tongue. But then what we'll do is we'll talk about the core essential nutrients that your dog should be receiving. Now there's 48. But during that class, I only cover 4 main ones: calcium, phosphorus, iron, and magnesium. And when we talk about those, is we're talking about what you can feed from a healthy alternative that will increase those levels, or what happens if you have too much of it and how to decrease it. So we talk about all those pieces, and it's really on those lines of support. And then everybody that attends that class gets $50 off the nutritional blueprint.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
that's what we thought that, we're looking at this is how best can we support all these pet parents that are out there. And so one thing that a new product that is going to get released today, just go to our site. You can actually have a 30-minute consultation with me. I'm,
Oh,
dog
that's cool.
nutrition certified, and I'm a raw feeding specialist. Not as good as you, Kasie. You are my mentor. And I say that I think every class I
I
have,
just have lots of experience, but I mean, that's
my
all.
mentors, yeah, and I refer to you as my mentor. And so with all of that, so it's something that we want to do. I mean, 25 bucks, I'll spend 30 minutes with you to assess and walk you through and help you out on your journey to feeding raw. So this is everything that we did as a small.
Everybody needs that, Matt. That's so important. Everybody really needs a mentor. And if they don't have someone locally, they can reach out to you. They can reach out to me. I have a group of other mentors I can put them in contact with. If it's not necessarily something that would be something I would need to, if it's something real basic, I have people who can really help you with that and just get you started. I mean, we're open to everybody worldwide now, and that's something that we can do. Of course, we aren't shipping worldwide with like our stuff, but I mean, we can definitely get you
Right.
started with information and just a hand holding, and maybe you could tell us like, what do you find, bring Zoom to your market, or I don't know about it right now with COVID if you can really go out too much, but I mean, like, what resources do you have? Show us what's in your fridge, show us what's in your freezer, and we can help you make food out of what you have available at home. And I bet you can do the same thing, Matt. If they call and talk to you, you can walk them through it, I bet. Have you done that kind of thing with people before? Have you done like a
Well, and yes, I've been talking to individuals if they ask, if they're going that. And finally, somebody that I was mentoring on Tuesday said, "How much do I owe you?" And I said, "Nothing. You were such a big supporter of us. I'm so happy to do it." She goes, "No, I'm paying you money for the time that you spent with me. So send me the link to pay you." And I was like,
Aw,
"Okay, I
that's so
love you
great.
dearly,
So
but yeah,
awesome.
that's so awesome." So,
Yeah, that's speaking of just real quickly, kind of
yeah.
COVID related, one of the things that we're doing is, with people losing their income and losing their, you know,
Mm.
financial means and their security financially, they don't know, and they're really a little bit uncertain about paying their membership fee or, moving into this and becoming a member at SFRAW. One of the things that we're offering is we're going to launch this weekend is the sponsorship from other members. So if a member, speaking of that sort of like, other member, maybe they have the means or they're comfortable or they're okay and
Right.
they're able to sponsor someone who is in need and wants to become a member, wants to feed better, wants to be involved, but they're just really not able to financially. This person could help sponsor them by help contributing towards their membership. We're also taking like split payments so they can pay half now, half later. We're really trying to work with people to make sure that this is feasible for them, because frankly, in my opinion, I mean, I have a pretty dire story about how I started SFRAW and why I started SFRAW, but just feeding kibble was never on the table. It's like I operate like in a world where kibble doesn't exist. So, it's not an option for me. I just don't see it that. So it's like, but on the other hand, when I was in the hospital, in the ICU, I had to learn how to walk again. I was like under these really dire circumstances and was feeding 10 or 12 pounds of meat a day to my animals, and had to find, I couldn't work and I had to figure out a way. It was a really tough situation, but that's when I started SF Raw. It's like, this is what I need to do to be able to continue to feed my animals raws. Start something like this, start buying from the farms. I mean, if there's a will, there's a way. And if you're really committed, you can make it happen, and we will help you with that. So, there may be some circumstances outside of your control where, you do what you can to get by, but frankly, if you can eat food, you can feed your animals food, and real food. I mean, there's not going to be a situation where I'm going to be like, oh my gosh, I'm going to have to eat fruity cocoa puffs, or I don't know what the things are called, but I mean, there's not going to be like, I need to eat that right now, that's the only choice. It's just, I'm sorry, that it's not gonna. There will be other choices always. There's always an A or a B usually. I mean, I don't know. I mean, gosh, we never would have thought that a month ago this would be happening, COVID. But I do think that, like what you were saying, is that people are so wonderful and generous at this moment, and like wanting to pay you for your time, and recognizing that your business has been affected. and our business has been affected, and everybody's being affected, and everybody being able to help in the way that they can. And having the sponsorship will be able to create a relationship with the new members, see what the wonderful spirit of community and support that we have with SFRAW and within the greater raw feeding community, and just the people who are involved with feeding this way and invested in their animals this way. They usually have these wonderful big hearts, you know, and that's one of the things that's so rewarding about SFRAW for me, is that, you know, I'm working with people who, you know, they just constantly like are a nice reaffirmation of, or an affirmation of like how good people are and how kind and how generous and how much they care about animals and the environment and other people. And so having those people sponsor new members and bringing them into the fold and helping them out, I think that's going to be a great way for them to also feel like they're doing something. Right now we're kind of stuck at home and you feel so helpless and you're not sure what to be able to do to help other people. This will be a way you can help. Either you can, you know, sponsor them financially, or maybe you even just help like bring them in and help guide them with the mentoring or education, or, you know, with people who do help you, giving them money for that, valuing their time and their money and effort. And, you know, I mean, there's a lot of people doing all kinds of interesting things. And so
Look at how
I think that's really cool that someone did that for you. That's really great. And, you know,
right.
it's something we're hoping to promote here as well.
Look at how awesome your members are and how they're supporting your community. This is what the world, I hope, turns to after this. I hope this is a lesson that we learn, is that we are all one and we need to support each other and help each other in every way that we can. So Kasie, I'm going to take a sidestep. We are regularly asked the question, can you feed your dog chicken bone?
I know, you texted me that before and I was like, what? Huh? Like, of course. Like, how can we possibly spend a half hour on that? That's such a basic, it's like, yes, you can.
So in the last 5 minutes,
the answer is yes.
10 minutes of our show, I would like you to answer that question for everybody. And I'm going to put it in the show notes that we are answering whether or not you can feed chicken bone, because that was what I was told early on in my journey 5 years ago. Don't ever feed a dog chicken bone. It'll splinter. They'll get the shards in their stomach. You'll be into the vet getting it, you know, surgically removed. This is kind of some of the horrors I heard. So how do you do it? Is it safe?
Yeah, I mean, you can definitely, sorry, I have something in my eye. I don't usually touch my face as much. I'm not supposed to touch your face, but there's something in my eye right now, so something blue from Anyway, so
I'm going back to this.
I don't normally touch my face.
Yeah, I'm like, you touch your face.
Anyway, but so chicken bones, yes, you can feed them. And the only things you need to do is make sure that they are raw. You don't want to feed cooked chicken bones. However, I just posted a blog post about how you can feed chicken bones cooked. There is a way to do that. But it does require some very specific handling and how you're going to be able to do that. And basically, you turn it into a puree essentially after pressure cooking it, and you know, and it's definitely not ideal. I mean, I reiterate that over and over, that fresh and raw is going to be the best way always, and the safest way always. So the problem is like chicken bones that, you know, you eat like a roasted chicken and then there's leftover bones that you put into your compost or into your trash, and then your dog eats that, and then that's the thing that's going to cause a problem. So they become brittle, they become sharp shards, they don't have any meat attached to them. Those are dangerous. But if you're feeding a meaty, fresh, or frozen, that's okay, chicken bone that's, you know, the right size for your animal, and it's not a probable risk for choking. Like, for example, if you feed a bone that's a little bit too small or just the size of their throat, that might be a problem because it'd be too small and they would try and just swallow it whole. But if they're going to take a few chunks or 2 bites or so of it and then get it down, that's okay. Sometimes people worry about that. If you have like a Great Dane and they're eating chicken necks, they're almost like sliding oysters down. You know, those are like nothing. I mean, they just like chomp, swallow, and they may actually, is it okay to get a little graphic, but they may actually like regurgitate that immediately because they just didn't even chew it, and then they eat it again. It's totally gross, but that's what happens sometimes, and people get really freaked out by that. And I'm like, well, this is what happens when you feed something that's just not big enough. You know, it's probably not going to hurt them, but you know, that's not the ideal bone, you know, unless you want to hold it for them and force them to eat it. When you have a really small animal, like a little baby, like a little Pomeranian, or you have a little puppy or a kitten, and you want to get them started on, we usually start them with chicken. So chicken wings or chicken necks, those are good. A bigger puppy, like a lab or larger, if they're a little 8-week-old puppy, you can start them on the chicken backs. Those are great. A lot of people will start with chicken. That's a really nice starting bone because it is a nice soft bone and it's readily available. So a lot of people do start with chicken bones. Just make sure there's a lot of meat on there and it's the appropriate size for your animal. So the appropriate size means it's, I mean, ideally the size of their head, that's the safest. And then if you go too small by, like, if you have a little, so the problem that people will have is they have a little dog, so then they cut up the bone really small thinking that that's going to be safer, and then you have just created a total choking hazard. So you know, like, you'll see that package on packaging, let's say for like 3-year-old children or babies, you know, small parts present choking. It's the same thing with our animals. So if it's just the size of their throat or just a little bit bigger or just about that size, they may actually choke on it. So you don't want that to happen. You want there to be significant enough in size so that they have to work on it and take a little bit of time to take some chewing before they get it down. But it is normal for dogs to take a few chomps and then swallow, and that's okay. You know, and you always want to supervise them. Never, ever, ever, ever feed a bone unsupervised, ever. Do not do it. Even if you're doing it for 10, 20, 30, whatever years, I don't care. Never feed them unsupervised. You should always supervise feeding a bone because there's always that one weird thing that could maybe happen, and you never want to not be there for that, you know, and it may never ever happen, but if it ever did, you want to make sure to be able to be there. And you know, go to YouTube and just learn how to do the Heimlich maneuver. It's always a good idea, even if you don't feed raw and you just have dogs, and you should just learn how to do that because they can choke on a toy or, you know, a ball or something like that too. So just make sure that you know how to do it. It's really easy. I mean, it's hopefully you'll never have to use it, but it's something that you can learn, and that'll be an easy way for you to hopefully, you know, have some knowledge and skills in place in case you ever needed to act fast to get something out of their throat. But yeah, chicken bones are totally fine as long as they're raw, as long as they're the right size. And if you have little tiny puppies and kittens, a lot of times we'll take a mallet or a rolling pin and you can smash the bone, so then you can kind of get the marrow out. If they're looking at it and they don't really know what to do, or they're so little or so young that they kind of gumming on it, like we usually start raw fed puppies and kittens at 3 weeks, and they aren't able to really chew the bones, but they sort of gum on them and look at them and just start getting used to them. But if you start them early like that, then they get a better skill about eating bones, and they're better about it and learning how to, what works, what doesn't work, how not to choke, you know, so they do a better job. But you kind of start them with something like that. That's usually a good idea. And I like to feed them when they're little like that, something that's at room temperature as well. But then the big dogs, you can usually just start them now. If you have a brachycephalic breed, or you have a breed that's got like a really big head, a big jaw, and then a really teeny tiny little throat, like I see some pit bulls like that sometimes, or some mastiffs sometimes, some boxers sometimes, they'll have these huge heads, but then if you look, they actually have this little teeny throat. They may actually be not a great candidate for eating bones. You have to really take that on a case-by-case basis and see what you're comfortable with or not. They may not be a good candidate for chewing on bones, because the problem is that they have these giant heads with powerful jaws, but they just don't have the throat capacity to handle getting things down that they think they'd be able to swallow, but they really can't, or it might get stuck. And then the brachycephalic breeds will sometimes have an elongated palate, or they'll have an esophagus. Sometimes anyone can have an esophagus, not just the, you know, those are the like pugs and the dogs with little like Frenchies and dogs with shortened faces or snouts. They have unique structures that may present more of a challenge when it comes to eating bones. So you just have to take that again on a case-by-case basis, understand you have a breed that may be more at risk, and then adjust accordingly. So maybe you just eat really big bones that they sit and work on, but they don't really get too much off of them, and you just kind of do that more for recreation and for stress release and cleaning their teeth. But then you don't go with a bone where that's going to be fully consumable, because there are two categories of bones. There's the recreational bones and the fully consumable bones. And I would say chicken bones are in the, you know, obviously fully consumable, and that they're one of the first bones a lot of people will start with. So absolutely, you can always feed chicken bones to most everybody. It's a good place to start. You just want to make sure that you're matching up the right size of the bone with the animal. And like the thighs and the quarters, sometimes those are like they're really popular. I think they're okay, but they do have like the longer bone pieces instead of like the necks and the backs and the wings, which are those are a little bit softer because they're not weight bearing. So if you're ever concerned about that, you know, the safety is going to be the size, but then also having all that meat on it. So don't take the meat off. The meat envelops the bone, and usually you want to give the bones after they've eaten some meat, or they're eating a lot of meat off of the bone before they get to the bone. That's how they're naturally designed to digest the bones, and that's the safest way to do that. So make sure that they get plenty of meat with their bone.
So just to recap, I'm gonna summarize everything you said. If
Okay.
if I cook a chicken, that's a no-go on that bone. So
It is, except for if you want to go to my blog, I do explain how you can
right.
do that. I'm
But-
going on record that you can, but there's a lot of steps in place, and there's a lot of things you need to do to make that happen safely. But a normal cooked chicken, like you do for your family, and you're going to eat the chicken off that, you're not going to be processing it enough to the point where that'd be safe for your dog or cat.
Yeah. So if I buy a rotisserie chicken from the grocery store and I got extra bone left over, that's no. Don't feed that way. So really what you're talking about is I'm gonna buy, let's say I have a Chihuahua, and my Chihuahua, and I want to give him one of those small chicken wings. About the right size. He's not going to choke on it. That would be okay to give him that chicken wing, but make sure it is full meat on it, skin, everything, and give it to him almost straight out of the package from the grocery store.
Right, and supervise them, and if you're not sure about it, hold it. You want to see every animal has a different style of eating. Some of them will lick and lick and lick for a long time, and then finally kind of chew, and they're real careful and ginger about it. Others will just try and like masticate the thing and get it down, like just swallow the whole thing all crazy. So that you have to be really careful. I mean, they're more at risk for choking, so you want to be careful with them. And they also get better at it. So maybe the first time they eat it, they'll eat it really carefully and kind of figure it out. Second time, like get a little better at it. Third time, they just like gobble it down really fast. So you just have to, they get a little more efficient typically the more experience they have with each bone. So just don't ever take it for granted and always watch them.
Yep, supervise like crazy. Well, Kasie, this has been awesome. Thank you so much. So for everybody going through talking about our small business changes and what we're doing and how we're supporting this awesome pet community, we wanted to give you guys some great information about whether or not you can feed chicken bones. So thank you so much for taking your time.
Thank you, of course. But also, I want to make sure people do get onto your class. And then also maybe your mentoring now that you're launching, which would be really great. Is that a consultation with you?
Yeah, just consultation with me.
Great. Yeah. And then also, my person I've been referring a lot of people to, are just talking about also Dr. Judy Jasek now has availability for consultations with her new website that she's launched. And she provides consultations around the world, I would imagine, or at least nationally. And then we are also doing the same. And we're also doing for local people, we are doing the virtual shopping and curbside pickup services as well.
Awesome. See, we're all coming together as a small business community, and we're figuring out a way to serve individuals of what they need. I love what Dr. Judy Jasek is doing with telemedicine. I love what you're doing in regards to bringing on more members and supporting them of how to actually feed their dog, and everything that we're doing at ParsleyPet and how we are adapting to feed.
Thank you, Matt. City noises, excuse me. There's a lot of noise in the background here.
They're honking at you. They just want to be a part of the show. So, thank you so much. I hope you guys have a great weekend, and thanks for being on the show with us today.
Thank you, Matt. It's so nice to see you, and I'm glad you're staying healthy. I hope everybody's staying healthy and well. And if you're, having to shelter in place because you're not feeling well, or your family member's not feeling well, we hope that you feel better and take care of yourself and do everything you can to stay safe. And we're thinking about everybody all over the world that's going through this. It's just such an unusual time. So
it is.
We'll all make it through, though.
We will. This will end, and we will all get through this. So thank you guys.
We're in COVID land right now. It's a weird place.
Yeah, that's all I got to say is, like at some point, yes. And so too this should pass.
Thank you, Matt.
Thanks. Thank you, Kasie. You are awesome.
We'll talk to you soon. Yay. Bye.